Welcome everybody to the live stream. Glad you could join us here. Hopefully everything is going well for you. We got a good topic here for today, talking about the auto serialize. We're just gonna join in and see, give it a second here to get some people, allow time for some people to join in. But we're gonna be talking about auto serialize, and that's a pretty powerful tool in Flexi, and it allows us to do kind of a lot of different things. We'll be showing some examples of how that auto serialize works in the software, and how to kind of get the most out of it, because it can be used in all kinds of different circumstances. If you are interested in training, while we're waiting for some people to join here, if you're interested in training, we do offer training on our website. You can go to thinksai.com/training, and you can get information about training in terms of one-on-one training for Flexi or for en route. The nice thing is about this is we can go and do any topic that you like, so it doesn't really matter, and we can tailor it to you, and then we record those sessions. So those sessions get recorded, and then I send you the video later, so that you can then take that video and review it as many times as you want. So it's kind of a nice benefit, and that's located at thinksai.com/training. So if you want to get pricing information, or you want to send customer service an email in regards to that, you can do that there. So our topic for today is going to be auto serializing Flexi 19. So let's jump right in and see what we can do. So when we pull up Flexi, I've got a simple little graphic here that we're going to look at to use as our default for our auto serialize, and we're going to use this in order to create this serialization process. So what I have here is I have some text up here and some text down here in the form of a number. And so this is going to be like a hotel number, room number, or something like that. What I can do is I'm going to go ahead and select the objects that I want. And it's going to be important to note that everything here, when I click on it, is listed as text. So when I go into the Design Central, you'll see that I still have the character icon or the text icon. This indicates to me that this is actually still text. Now, if this were actually not text, but rather if it was just outlines, I would need to actually retype the text. It's important that we recognize this as text and not as outlines, or make sure that it's not been converted to curves, because then the software is not going to really recognize it. So that'll be an important thing to remember as you do this. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go to Arrange, and I'm going to hit Auto Serialize, and it brings up this little window right here. Here I can define how many copies I want to make, and then this just tells me how many columns it's going to make them in. So I can do 3 columns or whatever. And then I can set my spacing of the spacing of the copies and whatnot if I want to. The key here is that it has automatically recognized these 3 blocks of text: Aztec, hotel, and the number 100. So what I want to do is I want to replace this number 100 with a series of numbers. And normally, if you didn't have the auto serialize, you'd have to copy and paste each one and then put in the new number for each copy. This completely negates anything like that, so you don't have to do any of that work. All I do is I highlight the 100 because that's what I want. That's what I want it to serialize for me. And I'm going to hit Next. We'll go over some of those other settings here in a moment when it comes to a data file. That's actually pretty helpful as well. Right now, none of the numbers are populated, and that's because I haven't serialized it yet. So I'm going to hit Auto Serialize, and this dialog box pops up, and I can do several different things. I can do a character or a numeric. In this case, I want a numeric. And since we already have 100 on there, I'm going to tell it I want to start at 101 and I want to increment by 1. And I click OK. And now these numbers have filled themselves out. So you can kind of scroll through here and see all the different numbers that it's going to create. And since I told it 10 copies, it's going to do 101 through 110. If this is a list I want to export, I can hit the export button if I really need to. So that's kind of a nice little thing, is if I want to export this list. If I hit finish, the software will automatically take my graphic and it's going to duplicate it and automatically assign all the numbers to it and everything. So this is really, really important. So, and really, really good to know. Now, one thing that you would have to do is, and this is just kind of something that you'll need to pay attention in your design, and this is kind of something you'll need to kind of keep an eye out for. But when I created this graphic right here, when I drew up this text, this number 100, I made sure and set my spacing or my alignment to the center. So if I ever type more text, the text always gets moved out from the middle. To kind of demonstrate what I'm showing here is I start right at the middle. So when I'm creating my graphic, I'm going to say number 100. And I'm going to set my spacing to make sure that it's from the middle so that it aligns properly. And we'll kind of drag it into position here, and this looks about right. So the reason why you wouldn't use one of these other ones, so for example, I could use the right justify if I wanted to. The only problem would be is that it wouldn't be centered if you had a number that was smaller or a number that was larger than 100 or larger than a 3-digit number, I guess in this case. If we had a room number that was 1001, what would happen is 1001 would get cut off over here, or it would go into the design over here. But if I keep it centered, it will scooch over the pound sign and it'll help it fit it inside the graphic. So that's kind of something that's important to remember when you do the auto serialize. It's going to take the settings that you have existing on your graphic when it duplicates them. So if you have it set to right justify, it'll right justify all the copies. And in this case, it would be better that I center justify it so that it always stays in the middle. So just be aware of something like that. Now, what we'll do here is maybe instead of just doing a number, let's just try doing some text. So let's go to, I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go to Arrange, Auto Serialize, and this time I'm going to import a data file. And I'm going to just show you what that data file looks like. Here I've created a data file, and it has 2 categories of things. It has a first and a last name. And I just delineated these by tabs. So I just typed in Aaron tab clap, Robert tab clap, or craft. So there's a tab in between these, not a space, but a tab. That's how the software, the Flexi software back here, knows how to identify spaces in between 2 objects. It looks at those tabs. So I've got the first name and the last name, and then I've got a bunch of names in here. And super easy to type up, not really that complicated. So what I want to do in the software then is I'm going to select the 2 words that I want replaced. And so I want Aztec and hotel, and I click them in that order because that's the order I want them to be placed in. Now, if I need to switch these around, I can actually sorry, I thought, no, sorry, you can't. So they've got to be in the order that you select them. So I'm gonna select the Aztec first, and then the hotel. So just like this. So that's be my first name, my last name, and then I'm going to import a data file. and we hit browse. We'll find our file here on the desktop. Why am I not seeing it here? Oh, I'm not on the desktop. That would be why. Oh, no, I am. Okay, let's make sure that I actually save that file properly. So let's go File, Save As, and let's save it as a .txt. Go back here, browse. That is interesting. Let's just take a look at our desktop here and make sure that the file is actually being saved. This is kind of weird. This was working earlier, so I might need to copy and paste this into Notepad. I was using Notepad++, but Notepad++ sometimes, oh yeah, okay, so it's not actually saving it the right way. Let's do this. That's why. So this is a problem with Notepad++. So I'm going to add my .txt ending on there, and that should allow us to see it now. Yeah, so that's actually a problem with my Notepad++. I should probably just use regular Notepad. That would probably be it. Yep, there it is. Okay, perfect. So I hit names. I'm going to say ignore the first row in the file because I had first and last set up in there. So I really don't need the first and last, that's just for me so I know what these fields are. So we're just going to ignore that. So ignore the first row. And now it imports all of those names right in here for me. So if I want to, I can take a look at this right here. So this is really great. This looks awesome. It's pulled them in correctly. Aztec is going to get replaced with all my first names, and hotel is going to get replaced with all my last names. All I have to do is hit finish and zoom out. Now this is something that's we're gonna take a look at and see what's happened here. Is you'll notice that some of this, the names are too large. And so the way that we would actually want to fix this is we would probably want to accommodate our design for the longest name in our list. So what we would probably want to do is we'd want to come down here, and I'm going to Control U to ungroup. I need to ungroup everything. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to scale the text down so that it's the correct size for all those names. Now, Aztec Hotel, that was a little bit of a too big of font. If I would have been honest with myself, I said, okay, that's really too big. I would have changed the size down a little bit. That would have been more appropriate. So we want to scale down the text just a little bit, and then we would just rerun this file again. So I can just I'm going to take my original here. I'm going to scooch it out of the way just so we have it. Whoops, I did not mean to grab that. There we go. So we'll just get rid of these copies here. We'll take this one. This one will be our new one. I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to make sure this is centered instead of left left justified. And we're going to do the same thing. Auto serialize. We grab our text file. Chase and Thompson. We'll just do that. Hit next. Finish. And now we've got it. This is much better. So now that I kind of have the biggest name accounted for, now all of them look really good. They're all centered properly and everything looks correct. So just making sure, and that's kind of part of the example there, was to show you that what you put into your original, you kind of have to do some accommodation for some of that if you need to. So just be aware of that. But that's a really powerful tool. So something else that we can do with this, and this is probably a little bit of a strange example, but what you could do is this also works with several of our other tools, not only text. So for example, let me take the number 100 and I'm going to go to text and I'm just going to convert this to Braille. Now, obviously this is really small. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to adjust my graphic to kind of match the size that we need for the Braille to kind of make it look somewhat normal. All right, so let's just say that was my graphic and I had a little Braille there. So now what I can do is I'm going to select the graphic again. I'm going to go into auto serialize. This time I'm going to say, get rid of this. We don't need it. We're not going to use the file. We want to make 10 copies again. I'm going to choose my number. I'm going to choose next. Auto serialize, just like we did before. We're going to start with 101, increase by 1, and click OK, and hit finish. Now the cool thing about this is that even though this is Braille, it still auto serialized it for me. So we've got 101 and 102. And if I ungroup everything and I select the Braille, group, if I convert that text back to Braille, our numbers stay consistent. So now we've got abilities to be able to do the Braille and convert that and use that in an auto serialize. So irregardless whether you're using Braille or whatever, you can still do this. Here's another really good example of this, for example. So let's go back to, let's delete these. And let's just write up some text over here. We're just going to say room number 101. I can then take this, just like this. I can go, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to text, and I'm going to turn this into a QR code. So now I've got a QR code. I can select the QR code. I can go to auto serialize. I can change my number just like I wanted to before, auto serialize, and do, we'll just start 101 and finish. And now it's created unique barcodes for each one of these. And if I'm going to hit Control U to ungroup, I'm going to select this, and if I convert my QR code to text, now I've got it. In this case, it's room 103. So really powerful tool. We can use this in all kinds of ways. You can use this with your any of your text formats. So a barcode, a data matrix code, a QR code, all of that will work with this auto serialize tool. And so it doesn't have to be just text or just numbers. It could be names, it could be, QR codes, Braille, barcodes, data matrix codes. So whatever you want to use, it could very easily pull that up. And very easily, a phone would now be able to recognize these QR codes. So really interesting, and we think pretty powerful tool here to use. Now let's just take a look at this in our example where we had our hotel number here. Let's convert this back to text. All right, and I'm going to make this larger. Okay, and I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go to auto serialize. I'm going to change the, actually, I'm going to change this text just a little bit. I think I'm going to get rid of the pound sign for a moment. Get rid of that. I'm going to center this. So I'm going to hit Control G to group everything behind it. And then I'm going to grab the text with it, and I'm going to do an alignment real quick so we make sure and get these right in the middle. There we go, just like that. And now I'm ready to go. So I'm going to go Arrange, Auto Serialize, and this time I'm going to grab the 100, hit Next, Auto Serialize, and this time I'm going to say character. So start with A and then increment by 1. So now you can see it's going to change everything from numbers to letters. So now we're starting at A, and oh, you know what? That text, I forgot to align it to the center, so that didn't do it for us. But now I've got each copy can be centered or with a letter. So I can add characters if I want to as well, and so I can do either way. So a pretty powerful tool. Anybody have any questions or anything in the chat? You can throw those in. It looks like Unique Arts had a question about price. I will go ahead and actually mention while we have this, since we have that question right in the chat, so everybody in the viewers can see it. But the software, you can buy it on a subscription for $49.95 a month. So you can get it for that price there. So subscription, you can also get a designer copy, which is a little bit cheaper. So if you're just looking for something to design with, but you don't necessarily need the output, designer is a little bit cheaper as well. So definitely check that out. If you want some more information about pricing, you can go to thinksai.com, and all on our website is the information for pricing. So you can hit subscribe now, and it'll show you all the pricing and all the options for all the different versions that we have and what the prices are. You've got several different options. You can do a month-to-month where there's no contract, or you can get a cheaper price if you go with a one-year commitment, and you can also pay for it all up front. So several different options available for you. So kind of however you want to do that. So they're pretty flexible in that way. Any other questions on this, or even anything about Flexi? It doesn't really have to be about auto serialize, really. It could be about anything Flexi related. We'll give it a minute here for people to put those questions in chat if they have any. And in the meantime, I mentioned at the beginning, we do offer training, so that's something that is available. So if you're interested in learning more about the software, you already have Flexi, and maybe you're a new user, or perhaps maybe you would like some direct training, one-on-one. We do offer that. So at thinksai.com/training. So I'll pull that up here. Here is our website. So you'll just go to support. You can either go to thinksai.com/training. This will take you right to it. So here's the options for this, and then you can submit a form if you want some more information, or you can go to support, training and events, and then you just click here to learn more, and that'll take you to the same page in case you're interested. The nice thing about the training is that it's one-on-one. It's me and you. We get to talk about whatever topic you want, and for an hour. or 2 hours, depending on how many hours you purchase. Typically, we do them in 1 hour sessions, and then we record that. And so you can always go back to it later. So we send you the recording, and then you can just watch that as many times as you want. So really, really nice program if you're looking to get into Flexi and would like some training one-on-one, and you can talk about whatever topic. So even if you're a user that's already had Flexi for a while, you can also talk about certain, if you want to know more about tiling, or car wraps, or maybe you want to do, learn more about vinyl, or something like that, something with the software, we can definitely do that. All right, so it looks like we have one question. Can you please explain about vectors? Yeah, I can get some information about vectorized designs. Yeah, I can give some more information about that. So if you have a design and you want to vectorize, there's several different ways of that, and I think we actually have a video on it. But I'll kind of briefly go into it and kind of show you where the options are and what to kind of look for. So let's pull in an image real quick. Go to File, Import. And I'm going to go to C drive. We're just going to go to the sample files inside of Flexi. And let's go into TIFFs here. And let's take this one here. Let's import it. All right. So this is a fairly small graphic. It's pretty sharp. It is a little bit blurry, and not blurry, but it is a little bit pixelated. So you can kind of see that here. But to do this, if we're dealing with a color image like this one, we can go into bitmap, choose vectorize, and then go to color trace. Once I get into the color trace, you'll see my design central has some changes. I can then make a few changes to this if I want to. So in this case, I'm not really sure how many colors there are here. I could count them, but I'm just going to say go to the max color, 16, and then I'm just going to left click and drag to highlight it, and it's going to give me kind of a preview of what the colors are that it's going to vectorize. And if I'm happy with that, I can hit apply. And then I'm going to hit escape to get out of the tool, or I'll exit this way, either way. And then I'm going to move the bitmap out of the way. And now I have vector artwork here. So now I can take each one of these individual items and modify them or change them on individually. I can change the colors of them if I want. I can do anything I want to any one of these shapes. So that's a quick color trace tutorial there. We actually have a ton of videos on our channel for color tracing as well. But if you're doing a black and white image, the only difference that you're going to do is you're going to go into vectorize, and you'll just use the auto trace instead. So the auto trace is more for black and white images, and the color trace is for more of the color images. But if you go to our website, let's close this and let's go to the SAI channel. So I just went to the SAI channel over here, and that'll pull you into our YouTube page. And if you go to playlists, and you go to Workflow Wednesday and click on View Playlist, there should be, here we go, drawing, point editing, tools, and vectorization. So if you want, we've got a about almost 50-minute long video just on point editing, drawing, and the vectorization tool. This is a really good resource. So this is a good place to check. But yeah, vectorization is fairly easy. One of the few tips that I will give you is that you want to check the resolution of the image. If this becomes too blurry, it becomes more difficult for the software to navigate through details. So as much as possible, you do want to try and get an image that's as high a resolution as possible, because that will make your vectorization process go that much smoother. It'll be less work. Now, this one was fairly pixelated, but it wasn't blurry. There's a difference. Pixelated, the software can deal with pixelization. It can't deal with, it can deal with blurriness, but if it's way too blurry, it has a really hard time picking up those details. So you'll notice here, for example, there are some pieces of the graphic that are slightly off that we would maybe need to just go in here and kind of make some small adjustments to. But the good thing is that we're 90% of the way there. We don't have to make major modifications to make this graphic work for us. It's pretty good already. So just be aware when you're picking images to vectorize, you want to make sure it's high a resolution as possible, and try and make sure it's as clear as possible. If it's pixelated, that's not too big of a deal, but if it's blurry, that makes it worse, and it becomes more difficult to do it. So just kind of keep those things in mind. And then if you're looking at vectorizing text, I'll just say this as a note. There's also a ton of videos on how to use the Find My Font tool. In fact, we just did a video last weekend on our Workflow Wednesday on the Find My Font tool. So if you're vectorizing something, you're trying to get a font, it would actually almost be better to use the Find My Font tool to figure out what font that is, and then just download the font or find something that's close to it, and then just retype the text. So those are just some things to kind of consider when doing vectorizing. But if you're doing something like this where there's no text, obviously the color trace or the auto trace for black and white would work out really well. All right, good questions, good questions. All right, so none of the questions came in. And so what we'll do is we'll just close it out for now. Again, we do this every week at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Every Wednesday, we talk about topics on Flexi. If you're interested in going back into our playlist and looking through some of our stuff and binge watching, again, on our YouTube channel, we have the entire playlist. We go through anything from color to printer profiles, editing tools, rapid texture for en route, creating tiles. There's all kinds of really useful stuff in here. So go back and check those out if you want to. Those would be really helpful to you, I think. So with that, hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for joining us today. Glad everybody got to hang out with us. Again, we'll be here next Tuesday at 2 p.m. You guys have a great week and stay safe. Bye.